Welcome now inside of this show, Kevin Sanderson, the one and only, the man from My Amazon Guy, knower of ball, scaler of brands. Let's bring him inside of the show right now. Everybody, welcome Kevin Sanderson. Get in here.
Oh, thank you guys for having me.
Kevin, we appreciate you making the time to join us, brother.
Oh, absolutely. I wouldn't miss it.
Kevin, man, I'd love for you to give us some background on all that you do. The notes that I have are that you are at My Amazon Guy. You've also got LG in marketing. Man, give us a little Google Earth out and tell us about everything that you do, brother.
Yeah, I guess the elevator history lesson, so to speak, on Kevin is I started selling on Amazon about 10 years ago. And then during the COVID crisis, whatever, I started hosting virtual summits. So I was bringing on a variety of speakers to, learn about, how to sell e-commerce, Amazon, etc. I've now hosted over 35 virtual summits and a bunch of webinars and live streams, kind of like what you guys are doing. Although you guys have amazing stuff.
Yeah. That's
very awesome. Good stuff. Yeah. And then in 2022, Stephen Pope, the founder of My Amazon Guy, wanted to acquire Maximizing E-commerce, the company that I was hosting the virtual summits through. So since then, I have been assisting Stephen with marketing over at My Amazon Guy. And then I'm also helping folks with email marketing and virtual events with LG in marketing. So that's the quick Cliff Note summary of me.
Awesome.
I mean, Kevin, so you've transitioned from, building a six-figure Amazon business to teaching others how to become those types of sellers. When did that shift happen in you? And when you made that pivot, what made you make that pivot of, I no longer want to be the one building the six-figure business. I want to teach others how to do this.
Yeah, good question. So it first started with, when I started selling on Amazon, it wasn't like as big of a thing as it is today. This was like 2015 when I got my first sale. And, people would ask me like, well, how do you do that? Like, is that even possible? And so I started documenting a little bit of what I was doing on YouTube on my channel, Maximizing E-commerce, that I haven't really been keeping up with as much lately. But then just over time, I just noticed, there's I came from the event world at a magical place in Orlando that I used to work at called Walt Disney World. And then after that, I worked at a convention hotel. And so I have an events background. So I was like, this way I can take what I know about, Amazon and e-commerce and, get other people that know stuff about Amazon and e-commerce, use my event background. I don't have to sling any tables or worry about, how many people are going to come to dinner. It's much simpler logistics, at least for me. And so I was like, let's do virtual summits. And so it's been a fun ride.
I love that.
Kevin, talk to me about Amazon. There's been so many changes over the years. I mean, it seems like what is happening on Amazon is similar to what's happening in e-commerce in other places as well. Margins get thinner, fees increase, and thus, it forces everybody in the game to operate more efficiently as possible and heighten their game in every aspect. I mean, have you seen that? I'd love to know from your perspective what's been happening as you've been helping people, win on Amazon.
Yeah. So the big thing I would say is that, it's all gotten a lot more complicated. So, there's a lot more levers you can pull on Amazon as, there are on, other channels in e-commerce as well. And Jeff Bezos famously said on I think it was a late night talk show host, asked him some question. He said, your margin is my opportunity. And he really meant it more at the time about his competition. Like he was going to beat them in price, like in the 2000s or whatever. But that mentality has seeped into, I think, going after more of the pie of sales that sellers are getting on their platform. And so, way more fees. They raise the fees, they get creative with new fees, and it's definitely a lot harder than it used to be. So you have to you have to raise your game. You can't just slap on a logo on a barbecue gloves or garlic press and call it a day.
Yeah. Could you kind of walk us through that? I mean, what could brands expect, and what kind of is there a so to speak, is there a level or attributes that make a perfect brand ready for Amazon where you're saying like, hey, you meet this criteria. I think it's a great transition for you to kind of stand this Amazon side of your business up. Do you have that?
Yeah, great question. So, at my Amazon guy, one of the things I've noticed is a lot more people that come to us looking for us to help them are already established somewhere else.
Sure.
Like they have brick and mortar presence,
Yeah.
or they own a factory and they're like, well, why don't we have our own brand out there on Amazon, or something, or they already have an e-commerce store that's successful. So it's harder to just come into the market and be like, I just want to find a product and sell it on Amazon. I'm
Yeah.
not saying that's impossible, but those days are, you have to have a lot more capital, or something else you're bringing to the table. So
Yeah.
I would say for, if you're talking about brands coming to Amazon, usually it's implying that they already have a brand
Yeah.
and they're already having some sort of establishment. I think that increases the chance of success, because if people have already proven they're, willing to pull out their wallet and pay for that product,
Yeah.
on their own D2C store, or, they have a presence in Walgreens or whatever the case is, they're much more likely to get the sales on Amazon because they've already proven it's something people are willing to buy.
Yeah.
Yeah, Kevin, one item that continually comes up with us, TikTok is always a kind of a fascinating
Mm-hmm.
opportunity. TikTok Shop. We've had people that run TikTok Shop, social commerce agencies come on and say TikTok Shop's incredible. We're working with some of the biggest brands in North America, but you need to be ready to lose money for the first 3 months. And then you need to be ready to lose money for the first 6 months. And
Yeah.
then the common measurement, or the common like backside advice is, even if you're losing money here, you're going to see halo effect both on
Yeah.
your own website and
Mm-hmm.
especially on Amazon.
Mm-hmm.
Is this something that you see with the people that you work with over at My Amazon Guy? Does this topic of conversation come up related to something's happening on other platforms, and what it does is it drives sales here on Amazon, where 50% of all the e-commerce searches are happening on the interwebs?
Yeah, it's a good point. Like I remember noticing, 15 years ago, like you'd tell people like, hey, go to this website. And they didn't go to the website. They went to Google and then they looked up the website.
Yeah,
They go to
yeah, yeah,
delta.com. They go to
yeah.
Google and then they look up Delta, And so that, in recent years, hey, look up this product. They go on their phone and they look it up on Amazon. And
Yeah.
so, TikTok Shop, one of the challenges of TikTok Shop is like, how do you get people to take action? Because they're just used to going like this.
Mm.
And so people default to what they already do. And so if they're like, well, that's an interesting product, they go to the Amazon app and then
They
they
go
look it
search
up.
it.
Yeah. So
Very
it's, so having that presence on Amazon will help you with that halo effect, because if you are selling on TikTok Shop and you're getting good traction with views and whatnot, maybe you are getting some sales on TikTok Shop, you're missing money and leaving money on the table if you don't have that Amazon presence for people to go find you.
Yeah, makes sense.
Kevin, could you talk a little bit about, you sold your company. Not a lot of people go through that acquisition process. Could you talk us through kind of what those early conversations look like, those early, quote unquote dates look like, where you were potentially thinking about, selling this?
Yeah, good question. So just to be clear, like, this wasn't the physical products business. This was kind of a, myself and a few VAs doing virtual
Yeah,
events.
sure.
So it wasn't quite the same experience,
Sure.
but I'm more than happy to share some of the details. So basically I didn't really have it on my radar. It was just Stephen liked what I was doing with the virtual summits. And he just saw like,
Yeah.
okay, this could be a good way to get, um, leads and whatnot, get their name out in front of people, and, also potentially, find more collaborations, because,
Yeah.
speakers can become collaborations. So basically what it came down to is he just approached me and said, hey, would you be interested in, an acquisition? And then, he wanted also, my skill set for other things he had working in his company. But basically, it was making sure, had the books, in line, which, not the best bookkeeper myself. I, had to have that caught up and, have all the documentation of, all bank statements and credit card statements and all that fun stuff, just to prove that, the money is what it is. And then, basically, he and his team had some questions about like, tell me about this, or, what revenue basically counted and didn't count, for what we were going for. And that was the basic gist of it. And then, it wasn't too big of a process because basically just, sent me the money. It wasn't like it was having to go through the SBA. So that made it a little bit easier.
Sure. Yeah.
Kevin,
I mean,
go ahead.
I was going to say, I mean, I think that is very sound advice that you talk about with the bookkeeper. I mean, I can't emphasize enough how important it is to have very sound books when you go through that process. Oh, yeah. Because it just makes it so much easier.
Yeah, Kevin, because someone's putting money into your company and they want to trust that they're getting what they think they're getting.
100%.
So, yeah.
100%.
Yeah, for sure. There have been a few people that have known to lie. It has happened before, and so having the books in order is helpful.
Yes,
it is definitely helpful in the whole process. Let me ask you this, because you've been involved in so many live events, man, what are the core tenets that make up a successful live event in your mind? I mean, you've done this so many times and put these on. Like how do you make a live event digital, winsome, online, et cetera? What are the bars that people need to check in order to make sure that it is a great one?
Yeah. So if you're going to put on your own event, it's what do people want to know about? Make it something actionable. That it's like the most popular topic is for me has always been pay-per-click advertising on Amazon.
Yeah. Because
it's got a little bit of a carrot and a stick. You do it well, you get more sales. You do it bad, you could lose a lot of money or waste money. And so is it going to help them? And then find people that they would want to learn from. And then also at the same time that your group of people that are speakers are also excited to be part of that group because they're positioning themselves as an expert amongst experts. So they're more likely to promote and share the event to their audiences and their email list. And that's what makes it successful. And then truth be told, the virtual summits are generally not live. I give you guys a lot of credit for having the guts to have, bring people on live, especially when you maybe haven't even talked to them yet. So I generally, for my virtual summits, will record most of the presentations ahead of time. So we'll still have some live streams.
Yeah.
Most of it is pre-recorded, and we just tell people like, okay, here's the schedule of what's going to come out the first day, the second day, the third day, and we just drip it out. And then if they have the VIP upgrade, they keep the ongoing access. If not, at the end, thanks for coming.
That's an interesting hack there. That's an interesting tactic that I had never thought about. That's interesting, Kevin.
Yeah,
that gives me some thought. I mean, I don't think that's something that we could deploy here simply because we're live every day. But maybe if we were doing something, in the future, give you a little more time to plan, prepare, and strategize, and curate on the front side, and then ensure everyone has a winsome experience on the backside. That's good, Kevin. I like that.
There you go. It's all about making it a good experience for the attendees.
Absolutely, Kevin. Could you kind of talk to us about? I feel like you have inundated yourself within the world of Amazon, and could you point to
word?
Yeah, absolutely. Could you point to any, or maybe a couple brands, maybe 2 or 3, where you are saying these guys are just absolutely crushing it? These are kind of the gold standard for how to run everything on Amazon. Do you have any of those brands in mind?
Yeah, great question. So, not ones that I necessarily personally know, but like ones that are kind of, in the Amazon folklore, so to speak, one of which would be Zule Kitchen. They've got great catalog. They've done a good job getting into some very competitive niches. They're on the forefront of a lot of really good design elements and, SEO. And so they did a great job. And that's a, built on Amazon brand. And then another one was Zesty Paws, who they got acquired for a pretty big number a few years back, but that's one that totally crushed it, and started on Amazon. Whereas I think those type of success stories to just start on Amazon are still possible, but you gotta come in with more capital, and you gotta have more products to start with than you probably could have gotten away with a few years back. But those are two brands that stick out for a lot of people.
Yeah.
Boy, Zesty Paws. Yeah, that
I've purchased Zesty Paws.
Yeah, you have.
Yeah. My wife used to get the I think it was the probiotic or something for our dog at the time. Yeah. So I was like, when I saw that, I was like, that name sounds familiar. I'm like, oh, we have that.
Nice. That is awesome. That's awesome. Well, Kevin, man, we appreciate you for making the time to join us. It definitely seems like, man, the Amazon game has continued to change, and I think it's borne out everywhere else in e-commerce as well. Everybody's got to step up their game. The days of
absolutely.
50 cent cost per click is
is
over. Those are gone. Those are gone. And everybody's got to be dialed in to make it happen. Man, we appreciate you joining us, and we'd love to have you back. We appreciate you making the time. Thanks, Kevin.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. Appreciate having me.